And we are live, but nobody's watching.
No one's watching.
But now they can watch Olivia. There's Olivia over there. We don't have people watching yet. It takes a couple minutes for the notifications to come in, then we'll show our super secret certificate. Chairs. It's not a flattering sound the chairs make.
We haven't done this in a while.
No, we haven't. The last time we did a live stream, and there's not anybody on right yet, but last time we did a live stream, we were in
Someone liked it.
Jacksonville. Oh, there's people watching now.
No.
Oh,
Is that right?
That's what it was.
Is that really Jacksonville?
Yeah, I think so. We're, it was you, me, and Daniel.
There he is. Folks are coming in.
It was you and me and Daniel. Where were we? Were we in Jacksonville or Kansas City?
I think we did one coming back. We did one here. I think we were recording something here.
Anyway, so for the couple of you who have jumped on so far, hi, oh, there we go. Welcome to the Scottish Rite Freemasonry channel. Maynard Edwards, 33rd degree. Brother Chris Ruley, the Honorable, and the author, Brother Chris Ruley, which is one of the things we'll talk about, is KCCH, 32nd degree, and historian at the Valley of Washington in the Orient of the District of Columbia. Thanks, man. We haven't seen each other probably since June.
And
Seriously?
we've made attempts. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We've made attempts to see each other, attend events, but it's crazy.
Well,
life is crazy.
let's recap summer very quickly. We have some show and tell objects, and we have Olivia is over there on standby. Let's let Olivia off the hook because she actually has a job and doesn't.
Yes.
So the reason why I brought Olivia in.
Olivia, why don't you come here?
Come on.
Yeah, I'll switch.
They don't need to see me all the time.
Okay. Here, I can spread it out a little bit. So we had a family reach out to us, and it's the family of Brother Robert Raymond Edwards. He's a 32nd degree Master of the Royal Secret. Became so in May of 1971, and this is his patent. So this is the certificate. If you're not a Scottish Rite Mason, you may not have seen one of these, but this is the certificate that Scottish Rite Masons are given when they become a 32nd degree, and then they get another one if they are honored by the KCCH or the 33rd or the Grand Cross or what have you. And it is signed by then General Secretary Fred Kleinknecht, then Grand Commander Henry Clausen, and then also the Registrar of the Valley. And, this is from 1971. And if you look, it was folded, and I did take it out of the frame and look, there are no signatures on the back. A lot of times guys would fold these up and put them in their pocket, and then they would take it to meetings. Now it's more common that a man will frame his patent, and this one is framed, but you can see this was folded and stuffed in his pocket. And there are people who still do the signing thing. I'm not one of them. Mine are all framed, but his family wanted to send this back home to the Scottish Rite. No one else in the family is a Mason, so they didn't want it to fall, someplace and go. So I'm handing this off to you to add to our files. And here's the question. I'm going to ask you first, and then we'll talk to Chris about it in a minute. When people have these kinds of things, they find family Masonic heirlooms. They don't have any real monetary value unless it belonged to someone famous or has some sort of, if it's a ring and it has a lot of gold or diamonds in it, then it has the material weight. But generally speaking, there's not a lot of value to these. So what should they do if they want to donate these things to the Scottish Rite? Is it box it up and send it to Washington, go to your local valley? What do you recommend? And I should mention, Olivia Curcio is I got it right. Look at that. Gold star for me on September 11th. She's our museum curator, and right now is overseeing a huge project, redoing all the archives and things, and dealing with a lot of this. So what should people do when they find this and they don't throw it away? So
I definitely recommend starting at the most local chapter of whatever organization it is, the Scottish Rite, Blue Lodge, York Rite, anything like that. Those often get overlooked for the more, the large organizations like the House of the Temple. We have, a lot of duplicates of things, and the smaller organizations who are just starting out with their museums could really use the artifacts. So I would recommend starting there. And the secretary of whatever body it is will always be able to help you find the right place to get it to.
That's excellent advice. You're getting a lot of thank yous here in the comments. But so thank you to the family of Brother Robert Raymond Edwards. We are going to add this one to our collection here at the temple. And thank you, Olivia, for all the work you're doing. Very quickly, as again, I know you actually have an actual job. What is going on with the new archive room and the new archive spaces down there? Give us an update, if you will. And I will say this is cool. We just bought a time-lapse camera, so we're going to put in that space. So as you work on it, people will eventually get to see the progress that went from an empty room to the completed space.
Well, fortunately, our museum collections room is just about done. The archives room is underway. It's currently pretty empty. There's no ceiling, no floor, but slowly but surely it's getting worked on. The shelving will hopefully be in by the end of the month, and then by the end of the year it'll be populated with the millions and millions of items that are in our archives.
Awesome. Well, thank you for everything that you're doing, and we will follow along, and we'll update you on the progress on that on our channel. So thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. And thank you for taking care of that for our brother who has passed to the Celestial Lodge. So, all right. Thanks, Olivia.
Thanks, Olivia.
She's always nice enough to play YouTube with us, and she does such an amazing job. Olivia and Miss Larissa,
Yes.
are two absolute jewels that work here that keep us organized and keep so much of our stuff so that it's accessible for research and things like that. They do an amazing job. It astounds me because you'll go ask them for the most random thing in the world, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I got that in my desk. Here, there you go."
Yeah.
So, and then Olivia's always kind enough to give me artifacts to use on the channel, which I have broken on some occasions.
It's good that there's a video record of you
Yeah,
breaking
yeah.
stuff.
But
Yeah.
It's always a bit. So we've got some folks to say hi to. We got John from Barbados, Valley of Boston. Speaking of Boston, that's something I want to talk to you about
Sure.
in just a moment.
There was a comment there about digitizing everything. Yes,
We're
please
working on it, baby.
digitize everything.
We're working
And
on
also, lodges should be digitizing their stuff, not just the major bodies, but
Oh,
there
God,
are
yeah.
ways to digitize. I'm telling you, there are applications on one's phone because camera phones now are so high quality that get even at just as good or as better photographs or digital reprints than you would get it on like HP scanner or something. So
And
always consider it.
A lot of that stuff is not terribly overhead scanners. I mean, yeah, it won't be the museum quality archive one that they use over at the Smithsonian. But,
Sure.
It's pretty good. And,
Yeah.
and it's better than nothing at
Yeah.
all because you can give it to the brothers and then people can actually use it to tell the story of your lodge.
Yeah.
And example of that is you'll find them linked here on our channel. Our friends at Huguenot Lodge in New York. They're in the Northern Masonic jurisdiction, but they do such a neat job because it's just, brothers who are curious about the story of their own lodge. And Brother
Yeah.
Lee does a nice job talking about that. I want to get up there. I think you're going up there to visit them, aren't you?
Yeah, Lee Justo, yeah.
God, I want to go up
I'm
there.
well, I've got a busy schedule.
You
actually.
do. And summer has been crazy. So let's start.
Sure. Why don't you start? What did we do?
So the first big thing I did this June was went out to with Brother Matt Bowers, who does our Scottish Rite Journal podcast, and we live streamed for the DMLA annual session, which was really cool to get to interact with our DMLA friends and brothers. And my son is a DMLA. He's still an active DMLA. He's 19 though, so he'll be a senior DMLA before too long. A past state master counselor, so he worked with our team to do the broadcast. He was sort of helped us translate from Mason to DMLA
Right.
whenever we needed it,
Right.
which was really cool. So that was out in Arizona for several days. Then I went to visit. I went to Memphis, for my annual pilgrimage to Graceland, and visited with the Memphis Valley for a while. While we were there, myself and Brother Bob Weatherford, we went over to Arkansas to meet with the oldest living Scottish Rite Mason, Brother Lloyd Gathright, and we helped award him his KCCH and also get his 50-year hat. We've got an update on Brother Gathright that we'll talk about. And then I went to the Job's Daughters event. I went to the Imperial Shrine session in Reno. Job's Daughters is out in Omaha, which you got to go to Omaha. That building is extraordinary. I was in Des Moines for the Royal Order of Scotland.
Oh yeah,
for a
that's
quick
right.
one. And then I haven't talked about this, and I probably won't talk much about it, but I had surgery. I had a pretty significant operation at the beginning of August or second week of August. So this is my first week back in the office since August 12th. And
You look good.
thank you. I'm doing good. It was basically a fancy hernia. I had a paraesophageal hernia, and it took them a long time to fix. So, but the hardest part has been me taking it easy. I'm not real good at that, but it was a very busy but very fun summer. A lot of Masonic stuff, and you wrote another book.
Yeah.
And we've got some news about. So you recap your summer quickly.
It was mostly focusing on book writing and getting some work done for the Scottish Rite Research Society. The Scottish Rite Research Society is meeting in October for our annual session, and there's a symposium. So if anyone is interested in submitting articles or papers to talk at the society, please consider doing so. There's some instructions on the SharePoint site, but I'm sure on the Facebook site. But I'm sure we've been emailing folks about it, and so please consider doing that. The Lafayette book finally went to print. It finally got
great.
there.
I just got my copy today.
Yes, I signed it to the only man I've ever loved, which is perhaps true.
I was going to leave that remain between brothers, but
Well,
it looks
you
great.
know.
I can't wait to read it.
It's great, and the Grand Lodges of all the states that I've been associated with Lafayette have been very accommodating, bringing me out, speaking. So there's lodges out in Albany, in New York, in Trenton, in Philadelphia, New
Shout out
York.
to Most Worshipful Steve Rubin up in
Yes,
New York.
yeah.
Great.
He's been very
It's been
accommodating.
very cool. Some of the stuff
I
they've
think
been
they're
doing in
back.
Lafayette.
I think they're back from Finland. They went
that-
out to
I did
Finland
see that
because
online. They were in
their
Finland.
Grand Lodge helped charter the Grand Lodge of Finland.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Don't forget, if you're watching, please give us a thumbs up and like, because when you do that, it makes YouTube push the video to more
Yeah.
people, and that helps us. And I know people say that, but it really does have you help us make more videos. So Brother Gary Neal has got a copy of your book. Thank you, Brother Gary.
Thank you, Garrett.
And then let's shout out to Andrew down in South Carolina. And Cyrus says that he's basically digitizing communications whenever he can.
Don't just digitize ledgers. As I agree with the brother said. Don't just digitize ledgers. Digitize programs. Digitize proceedings. Anything and everything. Like little 2-page pamphlets of a program that happened 1 weekend. Please make sure to digitize those. Also keep those programs. Just keep them on a record. As you have them.
Jonathan down in Virginia says he's looking forward to seeing you, I'm guessing you, at Newport News for the 100th year Scottish Rite Conference. Are you going down to that?
That's probably yours, maybe.
No, I'm not. I don't think I'm going down to that. If I know that the Grand Commander is speaking, and I know Art Hoyas is speaking at that.
Oh, there you go.
If they ask me to go to stream something, I will be glad to do so. But
Yeah.
as yet, I'm not on that slate. But
Yeah.
that is the oldest Scottish Rite Conference in the country. It's been going
Very
on
cool.
for over 100 years.
Nice. Well,
So book has been doing well.
book's been
Super
doing
happy
well.
for you.
Traveling a lot. Today actually is the first. So today is the day that Lafayette, according to newspapers, and I think there's an error in the chapter proceedings, because the chapter that Lafayette was initiated, the first Masonic activity that Lafayette participated in that we know of, during this bicentennial tour, happened today, which when he was initiated into the Royal Arch in the Knights Templar.
And it was 1824.
1824, September 11th. The record book for Jerusalem chapter says September 12th. But the newspapers say September 11th because that was a Saturday. September 12th was a Sunday. And
They wouldn't have made it.
Yeah, so I have a suspicion. My theory is that they just made an error. It was done, it was recorded after the fact, and it was an error. I believe it was September 11th because the newspapers give a full detail on the 11th of what happened.
Yeah, but a lot of times, and as a lodge secretary, I will tell you this for sure. I have one notebook that I make all my notes in for my minutes, and then in the official record, I type them up after the fact. And so a lot of times, because what you don't want is because I'm making corrections and scratching things out as you go, and you don't want that. You want the official record to be kind of tidy, and now we type it up and save it in an online system.
Yeah.
But in the old days, they had a book where the minutes were in it.
Right.
I'm wondering if the guy had his notes and he wrote them all up, and then Sunday afternoon or evening sat down to write them in the official book, wrote them in the book, and that day was Sunday, because he wasn't working or what have you, and wrote that at the top of the page. But mistakes happen.
Well,
we haven't been great record keepers.
Nevertheless, I think it's nice that it's there's a little bit of history. There's also a little bit of history that you reminded. I completely forgot, but you reminded me. Something else has happened on September 11th.
Morgan was brother
From a Masonic
then
conference.
brother. Had he been kicked out at that point in time? Let's call him Captain. William Morgan was arrested on this date back in 1826, September 11th, 1826. He was arrested, and then a couple, I guess 2 days later, he was bailed out by a group of Masons. And
They
then
paid
after
his $1.25 debt.
and never heard from again, and then suddenly, the anti-Masonic movement is born.
Yeah, that's right.
Which was
Well,
really the anti-Andrew Jackson.
There was
movement.
always an anti-Masonic, there was always an undertone of anti-Masonry in the United States. And in fact, in the Lafayette book, I do mention that, I don't think the Lafayette's visit with all the Masonic activities associated with his visit helped that cause, because Masonry was out there. They were doing public parades, banquets, all these social events. And so Masonry was very much out in the public sphere at the time. So I don't think that Lafayette's visit helped deter or diminish the anti-Masonic cause.
Brother Patrick, who was here visiting a couple of weeks ago, said you guys have chosen the air-conditioned room. Yes, we're not dummies. This is the council chamber.
Yeah.
I'll give you a quick tour.
This is the executive.
Executive council. This is where the Supreme Council meets when they have their executive meetings, and so. But yeah, it was one of the first rooms in this building to be air-conditioned. It also has the best light, so it is perfect for this kind of thing. So good to see you, Brother Patrick. Also, shout out to brother in West Kentucky is what it was. There it is. Bong, James Bong, wonderful screen name for Brother Mason. West Kentucky, shouting out. We got one of our Spanish-speaking brothers. Hola, ¿cómo está? My Spanish is straight terrible. Brother Rick from up the street. Good to see you, Rick. A couple of things for some show and tell. We already saw the patent, and you heard Olivia's recommendation.
That's right.
About start with the local body and then let them move it forward. You agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
You have to. Also, Olivia's right. We have duplicates and duplicates of the same 32nd degree patent. I think when family members or, let's say someone 20 years later wants to see something from their grandfather, it would make sense to go to the local chapter, the local lodge, the local whatever, to see if they have anything. So I always recommend go local, buy local, go local, focus on the local lodges. And then if there's something, really interesting, perhaps share it, or what you can do, which a lot of lodges are doing now, is draft up a loan agreement with a local research body, with a local museum, because museums are always looking for stuff. There's always looking to display stuff. So I know for Alexandria Washington 22, for example, we have so much Washington related stuff that many times we just send stuff on loan, and we have loan agreements with these museums, with Smithsonian, with the American university museums, but also local, state, and local museums. And so maybe in the agreement, you can get them to maybe help refurbish, represerve, have them pay for it, and then have them showed off.
So if you've got stuff that belong to a relative and you're not a Mason, you don't want to keep it, it's not, and listen, you can't keep everything. I mean, some of this stuff, and your kids aren't quite there yet, but they'll be there soon. You will come home one day and there will be bins full of drawings and things from school, and it's like, did we keep every scrap of paper that the kids ever drew on with a crayon between age, birth and 20?
Right.
And at some point you're like, okay, what am I going to do with all this? And you gotta pick and choose. And so the same thing happens with Masonic ephemera, because we end up with so many pins and coins and buttons and certificates, and all of them are really cool to display. But at some point, it's what do we do with all of this when Dad or great grandpa has passed? We want to keep these things because they were important to us, but these other things, we don't want to throw them away, but we
Right.
don't have the place, how much wall space do you have?
Yeah. Please contact, by the way, the secretary. Don't do what I've seen done, which is they just pack everything in a box
Send
and just
it.
mail it.
Yeah, call
and
them first.
assume that we're going to take it. Please reach out. Please contact. The other thing, if I don't mind my saying,
Please.
is if you use eBay as much as I do, I use eBay to see if stuff gets placed on eBay. I'm very anxious about families not knowing and going, well, this jewel must be tens of thousands of dollars. We're going to put it on eBay and strike it rich. Number one, your jewel is not
Some
going to get
stuff
sold.
It's not very worth.
It's not going to get sold. And number two, what you can do on eBay now is you can set an alert. So whenever, Hiram Lodge gets a ping, you'll get a notification that something got posted about Hiram Lodge, and then you can go see it. So you can make eBay work for you, where you can set up filters for keywords, and that way you'll get notified if anything gets popped up. So I've got a list of things for my jurisdiction that I'm always like, if anything associated with Benjamin E. French or Albert Pike or whatever, send that, it'll send me a notification.
I've got very similar notifications, and then also velvet Elvis paintings. I'm not kidding.
Well, there you go.
I have an extensive collection. If you have any Elvis paintings that are on velvet, the legit ones, send me a picture, because I do collect
Was that a
them.
series?
No, but the real ones, were generally done in Mexico, and like I can tell at a glance which ones were like the legitimate ones from the late 70s, early 80s, not too long after he passed away, and the ones that people have done as a goofy reproduction. So I can like,
You can spy.
Are
Are you an expert on that?
I don't
Somewhat.
I don't want to brag, but yes. A couple of cool things to talk about. We've got an ongoing project that you've been a part of, the Lost Media Archive. $2 a month, and what your $2 is doing is helping us buy equipment, send things out to be digitized, because in our archive in the basement we have, and I mean in the media archive, we have everything from VHS tapes to 16 millimeter film from 1915, and a lot of the equipment necessary. Sorry, Gary. Yeah, Elvis passed away. There was a big news article about it. God rest his soul. There was Gary messed me up. So we've got VHS tapes. Just yesterday, we found an entire batch of Betamax tapes.
Whoa.
And because the news industry and video production companies
Used Betamax.
used Betamax in the late 80s and well into the 90s, because it was higher quality than VHS. And so this is stuff that must have come raw off a camera, and there's stuff that's marked of past Grand Commander Fred Kleinknecht, and so we don't really even know what's on these things, and because we don't have a Betamax machine.
Sure.
So the money that we get in from that, we use to buy that equipment. We bought a reel-to-reel player. We discovered in the archive a reel-to-reel tape of the funeral of Grand Commander John Henry Coles, who's interred in the building here, which is
Funny you mentioned funeral.
right. And we were doing some digging yesterday when we uncovered those tapes, and we found this, which it's mirrored, so I'm not sure if it's mirrored on YouTube or not, but this is the Scottish Rite funeral service, the Rose Croix and Lodge of Sorrow, prepared and printed in March of 1972 by Grand Commander Henry C. Clausen. And I had not even 6 months ago, somebody asked me about, can you tell me about the Rose Croix funeral service? I had never heard of it. I looked in Forms and Traditions and couldn't find. I was like, I think it must have been
the
something.
proceedings. It was definitely in the proceedings.
I'm sure it was, but it was not like anywhere large scale printed and distributed to valleys. And I thought, and I said to I don't remember who it was, but I said, I think that might have been something that a valley did just as a
No,
but as it turns
they
out,
were very common.
this was a printed thing that was distributed, and I have never seen this before. But what we're going to do for our members is we're going to scan this, and I'm going to load it into the members only section of ScottishRite.org. So if someone needs it in the future, there it is.
Yeah.
It's very cool. So what do you know about?
Well, I know that there were 3 forms of funeral services for Scottish Rite. It was Lodge of Sorrow is also, it's not, Lodge of Sorrow is not just Scottish Rite, that has a craft lodge connotation as well, but the Rose Croix and then something called the Night Kadosh, which were both funeral services. Night Kadosh was actually done for Albert Pike on his funeral, and it was a midnight funeral service. Rose Croix, we did a couple different Rose Croix, and we had that recording of Cal's Rose Croix session or his funeral service as well. So I know that it's in the proceedings. They mention doing these types of services. So what would happen, I mean, at least maybe this is a DC context, so maybe in different jurisdictions it's
Sure.
different. But in DC at least, they often did, if you were a high-ranking Mason, they did a Templar service at the home. Then they either, if you were a high-ranking Scottish Rite Mason,
And
you
this
got
is in the
a
era
Knight
when it was,
Kadosh.
would this have been in the era when it was common?
1800s.
Yeah,
This
common to
is
have funerals
after
at homes.
Civil War. This
Okay.
is after the Civil War. 1880s all the way into really like 1910. They had funeral services. You would do a funeral service at the home. Then you would do the Blue or the Craft Lodge service at the burial site. And so oftentimes I would see in the proceedings, so-and-so 33rd degree got a Rosecroix service here, and then the body was transferred over, and then the Blue Lodge, or if he was a Grand Master, past Grand Master, there would be a Craft Lodge service that was done at the burial site.
This is the script. This is not just this is not like a history of the funeral or a description, but at the beginning there's instructions. It's hard to see, I know. But then there's the actual script, and it is from the officiant, which would be the wise master, who's the presiding officer of the chapter of Rosecroix, and then the prelate. So when you join that Lost Media Archive, it's $2 a month. And I think there's a couple of other levels in there that we're going to probably just pare it down just to be the $2 a month and be done with it, because it's a challenge to administrate it. But what you're helping is, one, giving us time to be able to go through the archives and find these things, and two, like in the case of these Betamax cassettes that we have, there could be some really cool stuff on there, but we can't watch it, and we certainly can't digitize it. So we have to, and I had to find one being reconstructed on eBay, and it's $400.
Yeah.
And it's not that we don't have $400, but if this is something people want, then let's support it, and that we're not taking money away from Rite Care, or from the building reconstruction, or from the other things that need to be helped. So this is for all of us media nerds like myself, like Brother Chris. Like we want to get this stuff and make it available. So by spending that $2 a month, one, it's about as affordable as we can make it.
Sure.
And two, we end up coming up with a little bit of a budget to be able to say, hey, let's buy a $400 Betamax machine.
Sure.
It's something you don't think you're ever going to do until you're sitting there doing it.
Final point on the funeral service, it's a public service.
Right.
So just want to clarify for non-Masons or just Masons who never really know about that. It is a public service. It is not hidden. It's open. Family, friends, anyone who is interested in attending those services could attend. And speaking of, there's brothers from across the country
Trinidad.
and the world. Yeah, welcome.
Calvin from Boston is Osiris.
Welcome, Calvin.
Masons shouldn't be live streaming. Masons live stream all the time.
Shouldn't be live streaming.
Yeah.
We're not conducting ritual. We're not buying him a beer.
No.
He's not taking your turn, dude. That's
No.
a Big Lebowski reference for anyone.
We're not making Masons here. We're
Yeah.
just talking Masonry.
We're just talking.
With other Masonic nerds.
That's right.
And by the way, we've got 37 people watching and only 19 likes. So take a second, hit that thumbs up. It does help. And if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. It's free, and it definitely helps us out. We have two other announcements to make. You're going to be on you know about one. I don't know if you know about this one. Have you seen this yet? This is the ivory key.
It's nice.
It's a lapel pin. It's a really nice little lapel pin.
It looks like
And
one of the
in this
degrees.
little- it looks like this. It's from the 4th degree, actually. It comes in this little.
In full view.
And so, Master Craftsman Online College, with which you have participated, we recently unveiled a course that is a Scottish Rite primer course for candidates. And the idea is, and this came from our brothers from Florida, this was their idea, and then we kind of brought it in and brought it to life here. It is a free primer course for Scottish Rite candidates. So once you petition the Scottish Rite, we want to make sure you get the most out of your reunion experience. So we're going to give you basically 4 short sections. Each have a little reading, a video, and an audio. So that way you can watch, listen, read, whichever you prefer. There's a little quiz, and then a little 2 or 3 little questions at the end about why you're joining the Scottish Rite. And if you fill that out within 90 days before or after your reunion, so it's basically a 6-month window for free, you will get to wear this ivory key lapel pin, which is a symbol in the 4th degree, and it gets explained during the course, but it's a really nice looking pin. And that course is free on Master Craftsman Online College for candidates. Currently, it's free for everybody if you're a Master Mason. However, what we're going to do is these pins obviously aren't free to make or to ship. They cost a few dollars each, and we have a lot of brothers who are, you know, white hats, red hats, or guys that have been Masters of the Royal Secret for, you know, 5 years, 6 years, that love pins, and they take the course, but we're not giving the pins to guys that have been around a while. This is for new brothers only that complete the course within the prescribed period of time. But we have had so many people blowing up Brother Norm Henthorne, who does all the...
Oh, poor Norm.
Yeah, that they're like, we want the pin. How come we took the course? We want the pin.
Right.
So here's what we're going to do. If you're a candidate, we're going to provide you with a code that you can use that it will be free. So it will still be free for candidates. If you're not a candidate, then what you're going to do is you're going to pay $33 to take the course, and then we'll send you the pin. And so when you buy that, you'll be subsidizing because it previously was a lost leader. We were losing money on it just to be able to do something nice for the new guys coming in. But now what we're going to do is, because there are so many of the, you know, white hats and red hats that want this pin, and guys that, you know, venerable masters and things that want this pin, you can have it. It's just going to cost you.
Right.
So that's a fair trade. It still keeps it exclusive, but the guys that really are the you know, pin collectors, they won't have to, you know, wait outside a dark alley for a black cap new Mason to come by and, you know, take it from them.
There's going to be a secondary.
That's a joke.
There's going to be a secondary market on that pin, by the way. That's going to be on eBay for like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Well, you know what? We want to do something special for our new brothers coming in.
Right.
And if they fill this out that early in their Masonic career and show that they've got that dedication to that more like Masonry, we want that recognized by a very special pin. Likewise, if there are brothers who are so dedicated to Scottish Rite Masonic education that they want to subsidize the education for those other brothers, well, you can pay $33 to subsidize that, so that basically for every one of those guys that buys you're subsidizing 10 free ones and doing your part. So
boy, I mean, regalia. Who knew? Masons love their regalia, don't they?
Yeah, and like I said, we wanted to make it special, but that is an announcement. We'll make that announcement formally in the next couple of days, but we just came to that decision in the last 12 hours, no joke.
Yeah.
So that is one announcement. I would say my mother lodge 139, 2nd degree, taking a 3rd degree in October, currently in Nashville, Tennessee, one of my favorite spots. Well, if you're in Nashville, go by and visit the Grand Lodge in Nashville and ask to see Brother Dan Jones, who is the secretary of the Scottish Rite Valley there. He's a Grand Cross, wonderful, wonderful brother, talented musician, and super knowledgeable Scottish Rite Mason. So,
Jimmy Densmore, there's Jimmy. Hey Jimmy, how are you?
Pins and coins, the true Masonic
He's right.
wages.
That's right.
You're not.
So
you're not
there seems to be a little bit of a slight conversation happening in the chat about, is it appropriate for Masons to be live streaming?
It is.
I've got my opinion. I'd love to share it.
Well,
what do you think?
Honoring Osiris in the full view of the profane. This true. Expect a phone call. Well, go ahead, give me a call. My number's easy to find. I'm sorry, Mike.
Look, I mean,
you're wrong.
From a purely a historical context, in the 18th century, Masons were having discussions about Masonry in print, in newspapers, in public records. They were publishing names and lists of those who were initiated and who won elections for Grand Lodge or local lodge. They published records and activities of them attending Masonic meetings or for St. John's, celebrating St. John's. So, I mean, when you're looking at it from a historical context, I think this is the brother's interpretation of what we should be and shouldn't be doing, versus his interpretation, what is historically accurate, what we have records of, what we see, is that Masonry was very much in the public sphere. By the way, you don't lay a cornerstone and ask the entire town, hey, if you're not a Mason, everyone get the hell out so we can lay this cornerstone. We actually bring the public into the cornerstone. We talk about the ritual during the cornerstone ceremony. So in many ways, that is one individual's interpretation. He is certainly more than happy to have it, but you got to remember that we're not talking about ritual. We're really just having a fun time talking about Masonry.
And he said we're honoring Osiris. We're not honoring Osiris. That's the man's screen name, and people use all sorts of crazy screen names. So, sorry, Mike, if you're a brother, apologies that you disagree with this, but it's pretty well documented. And we've been live streaming for, at this point, years. This is probably the 10th or maybe even more than that of these we've done. And we're going to do another live stream, speaking of, here in this very building on a very special night about a month and a half.
That's right. Tell us more about this.
So our Halloween live streams have become the stuff of legend because
Oh,
we
boy.
have found, let's say, some peculiar instances of things happening here in this building after dark. I'm not willing
That's
to
a very
say.
vague. That's a
I'm
very-
not willing to say this building is haunted, but there are things in this building that go bump in the night that we have no explanation for, and many of the people that work here are scared of them. I'm not, but so what we're going to do is, previously what we've done is set up cameras and just switch them throughout the night and have them triggered by sound or by movement. This year, we're actually going to have brothers in the building to do a little ghost hunting on Halloween night. Now, I know you won't be here with us because you got young kids and you
That's
should be
right.
out
Trick-or-treating. The
Go-
true Masonic
go
experience.
go with God on that. That's
you.
much more important, and I say that without any irony at all. That is a much more important thing to do. Take your kids trick or treating. You get like 12 shots at it per kid, and then they're too old for it. But
That's right.
so enjoy them while you can. But we will be here in the building, and we're going to go on probably around 7 o'clock. Details are just coming together, and we'll go until midnight and do a live stream here in the building and investigate the areas of building where we have actively seen things we don't have an explanation for. In particular, the hallway outside the Grand Commander's office, where last year we saw some shadows moving that looked very much like a person.
I think it's just a past master looking for an extra pin.
It
I
could
don't
be,
think it's
yeah.
really-
We wanted his ivory key pin.
That's right.
And then we also have brothers. We're going to be in the temple room. And then we don't have any reports of activity in the temple room. I'll be brutally honest with you. We have none. The activities.
It's fine. They're just.
Uh,
Keep going.
it is. The biggest activity is that hallway. Some stuff in the atrium. Then there's another space downstairs that's currently Brother Matt Bauer's office, where that was actually the living quarters of the building superintendent during the 50s and 60s.
Was that really?
That was an apartment, yeah, where Matt's office is. That was the guy's bedroom. He lived here, and he was like the night watchman / caretaker.
Got it.
And then, and I think that was
It's
after.
not a good space. To
It
be
is
in.
not. It is. I wouldn't want to live.
I
there.
wouldn't want to live there.
No, but I mean, walking
Fair
around in the atrium in your PJs, that's, funny.
Yeah.
But also in there, we also, in a couple of the museum spaces, we've had some things like EVPs and, strange sounds. And so we're going to be here live Halloween night. So go ahead and mark your
Are you
calendars.
bringing the Ouija board?
We have, I will be honest with you, we have discussed it. We have discussed the bringing of the Ouija board.
Oh,
We
man.
don't, see, we have to tread lightly because to some people, this very discussion is, are we, and we're doing it for fun. Let's be very clear about that.
That's
This
right.
is Halloween fun. We're not taking any of it very seriously. But it's Halloween. You want to watch scary movies and drink apple cider
That's right.
and get that creep factor going on. So that's what we're embracing. We're not Harry Potter's. We're not going to go to the Defense of the Dark Arts classes or anything like that. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. But we've discussed the bringing of a Ouija board, but we're afraid that some people might get a little overly sensitive about it. So we're
Fair enough.
we're that. I know that sounds stupid, but we might have to ask the Grand Commander
Let's
about
not.
that one.
Let's not trigger anyone.
See, Brother Gary says no Ouija board.
Fair enough.
But temple room seance, that's a definite no. Because, first of all, seances are, I think in Scottish Rite teaching, we would categorize that as a silly superstition.
Yes.
So be it. We're
So
gonna
that
have some
sounds fun. So
Yeah, it will be fun.
Is this like the third or fourth year you've been live streaming for Halloween?
Bob Weatherford wants us to spend the whole night. I would, but there is no comfortable place in this building to sleep. And let me tell you, Daddy doesn't do well after, Daddy needs a little extra sleep here and there. So,
Yeah, we're getting older. I'll tell you that.
yeah, right? So, what have you got planned as we move into the fall? You have a lot of stuff on your plate because you've been, and you're working on more books. I don't know if you want to drop on, I know you are. You've been researching. Lafayette, you're on a book tour now.
Yeah, it's mostly the book tour now is really the focus. We've got this Scottish Rite Research Society, as I mentioned before. We've got a symposium coming, so if anyone's interested in attending in person, please do so. Or come to a Zoom session.
You're in
Memphis.
Memphis.
That's right. We're going to Memphis.
Memphis, my home away from home, one of my favorite places on planet Earth.
You should have come. You should.
I can't. I'm going to be in Altoona, Pennsylvania, receiving my water buffalo degree.
No comment.
It's fun.
No, that's fine. I'm
And,
not saying. I'm not
and,
saying.
and the families and ladies are invited. So
That's true. What is the water buffalo, by the way? For
I
anyone
don't.
who's-
Oh,
Well, for non-Masons.
for those of you who are under,
or for Masons who
who are
don't
under
know.
30 and have never seen the Flintstones, it was the fraternity, one of the two fraternities that Fred Flintstone and Barney Rubble belonged to. The other one was the Loyal Order of the Dinosaurs that wore the exact same hat that the Knights Templar wear today. So,
They had chapeaux.
yeah, they had chapeaus. That was
Oh,
in
that's
episode
great.
2. That was the Loyal
I gotta
Order of
take a look at
Dinosaurs was only around a couple episodes in season 1, but episode 2 is where they first show up. But after that was the
We
Loyal
should do a
Order
rewatch of all those.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I did one on the Andy Griffith show on here. It didn't get a lot of action, so we didn't follow up. But there's other ones, like there's the Loyal Order of the Cobra from Mama's Family. That's pretty ridiculous.
Nice,
And there's
nice.
all kinds of them.
Yeah.
But,
so you're gonna go. How does
I don't
that
know
work?
yet. I don't know yet. I haven't been. But they
Okay.
say,
All right.
we're going to go, we're going to have food, and there's a fun degree, and you get a shirt and a hat of some
Are you
kind.
gonna wear the full water buffalo?
If I can.
With the blue.
I don't know why I wouldn't.
Okay. Okay.
But while you'll be
Okay.
in Memphis, so
Yes.
how long are you going to be in Memphis? Turnberg?
It's a weekend. Yeah.
You need to go early. You need to go visit the king.
I have a 9-month-old and a 3-year-old.
There's stuff to do at Graceland for them.
Oh no, they're not coming.
Oh.
My wife's a school teacher. It's not.
You
this
can
is,
take 2 hours out. Well, you got to go to Sun Studios, which is directly across the street from
Okay. Well, yes.
from the
I'll do
Scottish
that.
Rite.
Yeah.
And when you go there, it's literally across the street from the Scottish. So if you're in Memphis,
Yeah.
you go across the street to the Scottish Rite building. It is right there, and I lost my train of thought because somebody texted me. Squirrel. Carl Perkins, who was the guy who wrote Blue Suede Shoes originally,
Yes.
very famous 50s rock and roll. The first million-selling rock and roll record was actually Carl Perkins, was a Scottish Rite Mason.
Right on.
Got his degrees right across the street.
Nice. Right on.
So you got to go there.
Very
it's a
cool.
great spot.
Yeah, I've never been to Memphis in
Really?
general.
Oh.
Yes, I know. This, one of the great things about
Where you
doing a
staying?
book tour is so Dr. James Brown, SGIG of Arkansas, Graham, James Brown.
James-
I'm thinking of music. I'm thinking of.
James Brown
Yeah.
recorded it. He
That would
recorded
be
it at
actually really
Stacks.
hilarious.
He recorded it Stacks up the street, but not at Sun.
Anyway, I call James Graham
Dr.
Doc.
Graham.
Yeah, I
Yep.
call him Doc.
You're not alone.
He's got us who is the SGIG of? Is it Joe?
Joe Harrison.
Joe Harrison. That's right. Joe has us all in one of the hotels that's near the temple. So
Okay.
we're very close. Anyway, looking forward to it. If there are Masons from Memphis who are going to be there, or any recommendations, love to hang out with you guys as well.
I'm sitting here trying to think.
James Brown.
When do you leave? Are you leaving Sunday?
I gotta check. I've got to check the schedule because it's I think it's Saturday the session, and I'm probably leaving on Sunday.
Because now I'm thinking, can I fly there? No, I'm not going to make it.
Just saying, it's Memphis. Come
I
out.
know. Don't stop it because
Come
I'm
out,
going to Memphis in
enjoy.
November to see the lighting of the Christmas lights at Graceland. You think I'm a nerd about masonry? Whew.
You Elvis and the Beatles. I will say, I think you like Elvis and the Beatles.
Indeed I do. But we get nerdy about what we get nerdy about. So
And we can all be different. We can
Yeah.
all share different values and opinions, and still be friends and Masons.
and we're all dear friends. But
Yes.
so that's a very cool thing. Information on that at Scottish Rite Research.
Yes,
Research.org.
you should have gotten an email. If you're not a member of this, by the way, if you're not a member of the Scottish Rite Research Society, it doesn't mean you can't submit an article for a presentation for the symposium. We'll take anyone who's interested and who's got a good article. So feel free to submit or reach out to me, or reach out if you're on the Facebook page. You'll see links to that as well. So feel free to jump in, and if you're interested, please attend. It's going to be fun. A lot of Masonic nerd publishers are going to be there. Art de Huis hopefully will be there. Doc Graham and I will be there. Who else is going to be there? Adam Kendall, Scottish Rite Research Society
I'm
editor
sure
of
my brother,
Herodom.
buddy Gerald Leek, who's the secretary there, great,
Yep.
great
Yep.
friend of mine.
By the way, an update for those who are Scottish Rite Research Society. The bonus books are coming out now. We've got a plumb line in the works. Herodom is done. It's at the printer. We're sending them out. So you will get those copies of Herodom and a couple of those bonus books coming soon in the next couple of weeks. I mean, it's like imminent. So I'm very excited that we're done with that. And then please submit stuff for the plumb line. Please submit stuff for Herodom, and we'll get your stuff published. So I'm looking at you, Jimmy Densmore, for some articles. I think I have Jimmy still here.
He is.
He's got an article. So I saw he was working on something on his
Yeah.
on his Facebook. So
Brother Rick throwing up some love for Scottish Rite Research Society. It's the best $60 in all of masonry.
DC Scottish Rite. I want to plug something local because I want to.
You spoke there last night.
I spoke there
missed it.
last night.
I couldn't be there last
Well,
night.
you know, this is what happens. This is the first time we've seen each other in literally months.
It has to be June since we saw each other last night.
I think that's right. Did we? Was the last time the Scottish Rite?
No,
Rite
you
Care?
were in here randomly for something.
Okay, I tend to do that. DC Scottish Rite, Prince Hall. There's a co reunion. We're doing a joint reunion with Prince Hall, the DC Prince Hall. So if those are interested in coming, please, you've got to register to go to that event because it's going to be a big event. And so Prince Hall are doing a couple of the degrees. DC Scottish Rite is doing a couple of degrees.
First time
We're all
ever.
doing it together. First
Gonna
time
be
ever.
awesome.
And you know what? It's about time.
Yeah.
Let's do more stuff. Let's bring people in.
Amen.
I know that there was a discussion, at least in the Allied Masonic degrees, about allowing Prince Hall to come in and join and be part of the greater Allied Masonic degree community. I think that's a great thing. More folks, more interested voices, more parties. It's great. Bring more folks into Masonry. So it's right there.
We did have a question on here we want to get to real quick.
Yeah, what are the questions?
Applying for membership in my local lodge, I got into some trouble in my teenage years.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, right. Concerned that this will disqualify me. Any advice? So here's what the first thing is: honesty is going to be your best policy. A lot of this is going to depend on the lodge and the Grand Lodge and things like that. So first of all, when you put it on your form, when you fill out your petition, disclose that and say, you know, I have this conviction, or you know, if it's very serious, if someone was hurt or something like that, you know, that might be problematic. But if you're just speeding, joyriding, or something like that, and you were 19 and now you're 45, I mean, you'd have to find the most hard-nosed lodge of hypocrites who weren't teenagers to say no to that.
That's right.
Generally speaking, it might be different if you hurt somebody, or if it continued on into your 30s. You know, if you're 19 and this happened last year, yeah, give it a few years. Masonry's not going anywhere. Come back to it. But you know, the honesty is going to be the best policy. And whomever it is you're speaking to about joining a lodge, talk to them and tell them what the situation is. Make sure they understand. You know, I was 17 and dumb. We all were.
Sure.
You know, the question is, are you still dumb and mentally 17? And if the answer is yes, then you might want to wait until you to petition a lodge. If the answer is, I haven't done anything like that in 20 years, you're probably going to be okay. But again, it is going to differ depending on the lodge. And here's what I mean by that. Is, let's say you were joyriding and you hit somebody's house. If the guy whose house you hit is a member of that lodge, he might not want you in that lodge. Even if it was 25 years ago, he might still be ticked. Or if someone had a family member who was injured in a very bad automobile crash by some joyriding teenagers, that guy might still have an issue with that. But you know, that doesn't mean that the lodge down the street is going to have the same problem. So go in honestly, and that is going to be your best bet. And again, time heals a lot of things. So if you're 30 and it happened when you were 17, you should be.
Congratulations, you're normal.
Yeah, right. I mean, we were all dumb when we were teenagers.
That's right.
And you know, the what you want to see is that you grew out of it and you didn't keep doing it until you were 28 or 29. So,
That's right.
other questions? What else have we missed? Because this is the first time we've done an update in a while.
Well, if anyone has any questions, feel free to
Throw
send
them
them to us.
We'll
Happy
spend
to
another
chat.
couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got a few few folks talking about books and things. Brother Flicker, send me an email. We'll work on that. He wants to speak to you when they're in Memphis.
Sure.
I'm so mad you're going to Memphis without me. I'm dead. I'm serious. I'm actually angry about it. So doesn't seem to be any other questions right now. Big thing is for the fall, like I said, candidates are going to get this ivory key. So if you're an existing Scottish Rite Mason and you are signing a petition for somebody, make sure you direct them to the Master Craftsman Online College so that they can earn that. Do not forget to pick up Brother Lafayette. You can Google it. Your website, chriswoodley.com.
Yep, and you can get signed copies there.
Cool. And also, don't forget, check out the Lost Media Archive, $2. You help us preserve Masonic history. And we're going to give as much of that out as we can on the channel. There's some really cool stuff in there. We just did a whole, this was cool. You remember about a month and a half ago, I think it was the last time we talked. It was about JFK. That's what it was.
Okay,
we sat
that's
down and
right.
we talked about
JFK,
JFK
that's right.
meeting with the Masons. And that video went out a couple weeks ago. And it was during the 8th annual conference of Supreme Councils, where they'd all come together in Washington, D.C., and we had the transactions and things. I found yesterday in the archive a reel-to-reel tape of that conference. So they have several reel-to-reel tapes of what went on at that conference. So we'll be able to actually take that video a step further and allow you to hear what went on at the conference.
That's fantastic.
So, that is what that Lost Media Archive, that $2 a month, does. It allows us to do that.
There's a question by Gary.
Can a course on paper be credited to the online dashboard of Master Craftsman? Yes, it can. Email Brother Norm Henthorn or Gary. I know you know him personally, Gary. So you can email Norm or just shoot me an email, and we can do that. When is the DC joint? When is that DC joint reunion happening?
The DC joint reunion. Apologize, I'm checking my calendar here. Is Friday, November 1st and November 2nd. Friday and Saturday. So that first weekend of November is when that is happening. So 2
that
months.
should be great.
2 months. Yeah.
I'm gonna try and stick my head in on Friday. I can't be there Saturday because that's the Baltimore reunion where I'll be.
From my understanding, both the Grand Commanders, so for Prince Hall and Grand Commander Lester's James Cole will be there as well. So it's a good thing. Yeah.
Another thing that's going to happen is we are currently attempting to raise money to restore the organ upstairs.
Yes.
The Valley of the District of Columbia, Valley of Washington and the District of Columbia did a fundraiser 3-4 months ago. There was an organ concert that they did up the street, and we have recordings of that. We're going to put that out, and hopefully people will see that and be inspired to help support that organ restoration. That's you'll so look out for that. And then also we've been invited to Virginia to live stream a portion of the Grand Lodge installation the first part of November as
Very
well.
cool.
So
Very cool.
we'll be bringing that to you. So you'll see a Grand Lodge installation here on the channel. I do want to conclude with two things of a
I've got something too.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll do my two. Is yours happy or sad?
Good.
Okay, good. We're going to do these two, and then we'll do yours.
Okay.
The first one is we do want to take a second and remember all those who lost their lives on September 11, 2001. It is a moment of we all remember where we were, what we were doing, and if you were alive at the time, it was a terrible, terrible day. I was on the radio at the time doing our morning show, and I was the only one on the air at the time who didn't have kids. Everybody else left and went home to be with their kids, and I stayed behind to anchor all the CBS stations. So they linked all 5 CBS radio stations together, and I was on the air until like 9 o'clock at night, almost by myself. But we took network coverage and stuff like that. It was terrible, but it was great to see how everybody pulled together in the immediate after effects. So just want to take a few seconds and express. I don't even know what the right words are, but just something to always remember on this day.
I was in middle school.
Shut up. God, I hate
More importantly, hold
See,
on.
I'm gonna hit you with your own book.
Hold on. I was in Minnesota. So I am from northern New Jersey. So I lived near Hoboken. We were the town right next to Hoboken. So we were actually the kids that you walked outside of the school and you can see it right across the river. I mean, we were that close. And so we had a lot of family members. And so we did actually have, unfortunately, members of my graduating class did have parents who died because they were working at the Trade Center. So yeah, there's still a weird. I think like at least for our generation, we were the generation that grew into. We were
Right.
the generation that got into the internet, and then we basically saw 9/11 and experienced 9/11. So
Yeah.
it's a weird generation because they're like kids that now are like. After that, they're born now and they're teenagers and they're talking about and they're on TikTok and they're making
Yeah, I find it difficult to think about or talk
Videos.
about without just being back in that place. And
Yeah,
so it is a moment for many of us who were around at that time.
yeah.
Whether you were in middle school, I hate you, or you were you were
I'm
in the
now
early
in my
part-
late 30s.
You were in the early part of your radio career.
Yeah.
I would imagine that people who lived through the Pearl Harbor era
Sure.
feel much the same way.
Sure.
It's difficult to talk about. And speaking of Pearl Harbor and World War II, here's a segue that I don't like. You have all hopefully seen the video of Brother Lloyd Gathright, 106 years old, Scottish Rite Mason for over 50 years, a Freemason for 68 years. He was at various valleys, a couple of different Blue Lodges. We went and visited with him in March and did a really nice video that's here on our YouTube channel. And then when people saw that he had his black hat and hadn't gotten his blue hat of 50 years and hadn't received honors, people went nuts. And the guy that went nuts the most was Grand Commander Cole, who basically picked up the phone and said, "That man is now a KCCH, get down there and give him his hat." So we did, myself along with the Deputy of Oregon, Brother Rick Comrouse, and also the SGIG of Arkansas, Brother James Graham, who we've already talked about, Dr. James Graham, and also Brother Darrell Gifford, who is the most worshipful Grand Master Masons in Arkansas. We all went down there and we did a video on that. Sadly, about 2 weeks ago, Brother Gathright did lay down his working tools after 106 years, 11 months and change. His 107th birthday, will be next week. And I know people sent him birthday cards. So sad news there, but he told us that he was ready. He was
Certainly appreciative of you guys doing all this.
He was a wonderful honor to meet him. We went and picked him up at his nursing home, myself and Brother Bob Weatherford. By the way, Bob gets 100% of the credit for tracking Brother Gathright down. Brother Gathright, 32nd degree KCCH, tracked him down and worked with his family. I mean, made 1,000 phone calls to get that done. So Bob and I, along with my daughter Willa, went to pick up Lloyd from his nursing home, and we go to pick him up, and as we're driving to the lodge where the ceremony is taking place, he points to the cemetery and he goes, "Well, there's my home. I'll be moving in soon." So he had, he
Good
was
humor.
He was in good humor. When you're 106, I guess you kind of.
Yeah.
But what a tremendous person to know.
Yeah.
Bob, I don't know if you're still watching, but thank you for all the work you did on that. It was extraordinary to be able to meet him and interact with Brother Lloyd, and just as sharp as a tack up until the very end.
Yeah.
Just,
Very good.
Melancholy, but I don't think we should. I don't know how to say this properly. Mourning is not the right thing. We should celebrate his life and for the service that he gave to the Scottish Rite, to Freemasonry, and also to our country. He was a World War II veteran, served in Alaska, and saw Japanese soldiers, or I guess sailors, off the coast of Alaska, and was very, had a very sharp recollection of that, and things that you ain't going to learn about in a history book. So,
That's
Brother
right.
Bob, thank you for tracking him down.
There was a question I did want to see. There was a brother who asked what their experience with Prince Hall Lodges. I've attended a couple of Prince Hall meetings when I had the opportunity to.
So
and
have I.
I also
Great.
attended
They have great food.
an initiation, an apprentice degree, which was awesome. It was certainly a lot different than what we do in the Royal Free and Accepted Masonry, but it was a great experience. Make sure, follow the rules of what the recognition is within your state when you're attending. Make sure you're following all those rules, because different states have different rules in terms of what the level of engagement with
Good
Prince Hall
advice.
is. But also, it's a great opportunity. And remember, we're all Masons. We're all trying to do the best that we're doing with. So please, I think it's great, brother, that if you are attending that session, please do learn as much as you can, and then perhaps reciprocate and see if there's an opportunity for Prince Hall to come to your lodge and build that relationship up. It's a great thing to do. I think you'll appreciate it.
Could not agree more. My advice though is
Please.
go hungry, because
Oh, yeah.
I have never gone to a Prince Hall meeting and had less than some of the best food.
Yeah.
And like they make you take it home, because they have their ladies are very involved in the lodge experience, and so while the guys are having the meeting, the ladies are fixing food and stuff. And like when you leave there, if you didn't eat enough, they're packing a bag for you. It's like like you got kids, yeah, okay, here, take this, and they sent me home with food and stuff. So
great.
go hungry is my advice.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Really enjoy that.
Last thing I wanted to say was I just wanted to recognize Matt Tomasky. Matt Tomasky
Yes,
used
good
to be,
call.
yeah, he used to be here working at the House of the Temple. He is now the new executive director. I believe that's the term. That's the title for the George Washington National Masonic Memorial. So congratulations to Matt for switching over, and he's doing a great job so far. They have really picked up their social media presence, and I'm so glad, because that is one of those institutions where you really need a good social media presence. So kudos to him. Kudos to Sean Iyer for all he's doing in terms of really getting out there. Sean is an expert, he's a great historian, a great researcher, and I consider him a very good friend. And so I'm glad that they're doing a lot more, and they're doing fundraisers. I mean, they're really ramping up, and that's what it should be. So if you're in town, if you're in Alexandria, please check out the memorial. Please do it, as soon as you can, to see all the great improvements that are happening to the building.
I couldn't agree more. Matt Tomasky, brother Matt, love you, bro. Super excited for you and all the things that you're going to bring over there. And hopefully we'll be able to work together with them and partner with them on some things, content and different things, because they've got some great stuff over there, and there's a lot of crossover.
Yeah.
And, as two of the leading Masonic sites in the country, it'll be great to be able to work with them. As you said, Sean, super talented historian, and it's an exciting thing to have fresh ideas, fresh blood, and all those things. So great pull on that.
And Phil Short.
Yes, Phil Short was our longtime development officer on the East Coast. He is now taken over as the director of development here. So congratulations, brother Phil. Wonderful guy. I've worked with Phil a long time, and he's a Maryland Mason, which means he and I are like that. So it's congratulations, Phil. A lot of change, but a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
One thing before we go, we're going to wrap this up because we've been yakking for an hour here. Is a brother, or not a brother, a man asked, I'm interested in joining any advice. Here's my advice. You can take from me, and then you can get Chris. His may be different. If there's a lodge in your area, in your neighborhood, wherever, find out when they meet. It will be published somewhere. And if you can't find where it's published, a lot of times it'll be on the building, they'll put it on the door, something to that effect. What you're going to want to do is find out when they meet. And usually it'll be monthly or twice a month, something to that effect. Go to that meeting about an hour beforehand, maybe a half an hour beforehand, and there will be brothers walking in, getting ready for the evening's meeting. During the week when there's nothing going on, lodges are going to be a lot like churches, unless it's a very large organization. If it's just your neighborhood church, during the week, it's going to be empty. There's not going to be a lot going on. So if one more person calls me while I'm doing this live stream, I swear to God, I'm going to throw my phone through that door. I know every person I know is watching this and they're calling me. And now Bowers is going to call me 100%. But anyway, when you find out when they meet, go there and introduce yourself. Say, I'm interested in Masonry, because during the week there's not going to be anybody there. There's nobody there answering the phones. If they're real with it, they might have the phone forwarded to the secretary's house or something like that. But generally speaking, go there and say, hi, my name is Chris. I'm interested in Masonry. Would it be possible I can make arrangements to talk to somebody? And they will be happy to talk to you and answer your questions. They're not going to invite you to the meeting unless it's an open meeting. Those are business meetings. Those are private. But they might invite you in for dinner. They might invite you in to look around. But what they probably will do is set up a time for you to come back and talk to some people one-on-one, and show you around and things like that. So that's the best way to make that connection. Don't just go by the lodge that's closest to your house or the lodge that's closest to your office. Make sure that lodge meets on a night that works for you. If you've played softball every Wednesday night for the last 25 years and the lodge only meets on Wednesdays, you ain't going to lodge. You're just not. So find a lodge that works with your schedule and things like that. And you know, and ask if there's people that you know in your own life that are Masons in your area. They're the ones to direct you. If all else fails, call the Grand Lodge, ask to speak to someone in the Grand Secretary's office, and they will be able to advise you as to the customs and the practices locally to get you into a lodge. So those are my couple big pieces of advice.
To add to that, because I think I agree with everything that you said, every lodge, like every other institution, has its own personality.
Amen.
And by the way, that personality might change in 3 or 4 years.
Amen.
These lodges are like living human, breathing animals. They change, they shift, they adapt, they evolve. And so go to the lodge and see what it looks like. Are the people there interesting? Are they young? Are they professionals? Are they made up of a different affiliation? Are they like a heritage lodge or like a lodge that's, like all Filipino, all Spanish? The different lodges have different interests. So if you're interested in those things, go check out different lodges. There is no like rule that says you can only go to one lodge and you can only apply to one lodge. So go check out the different lodges. And then the other thing I would say is please, when you're going through the petition process, as we were talking about before, please be truthful, please be honest, because you're going to commit time to this. You are inherently going to commit time to this. So you don't want to lose out or have this experience go to vain because you weren't forthright, you weren't truthful. And at the same time, just be realistic with your family commitments. A lot of guys, including me, when I joined Freemasonry, I was in a different part of my life. I didn't have kids, I didn't have a family. I was just a single young guy trying to figure it out. And now I'm a dopey old dad hanging out with this guy, spending time talking about velvet Elvis memorabilia. This is where my life is. So with that, honestly, they're just going to keep texting you and calling you.
Yeah, well, that was Bob telling me that he texted you so you didn't feel left out of not getting phone calls and texts.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. The hardest working man in Masonry.
He
Bob
really
Leonard.
is. He really is.
Hardest working man in Masonry.
So as we wrap up here, thank you, man. And make
you.
sure you check out Brother Lafayette, which is Chris Ruley's latest, chrisruley.com, CHRISRULI.com. And it's in a lot of the links and a lot of the videos. And also his previous book, Freemasons and the White House. Or is it the White House and the Freemasons? What did I say?
The second one is
The White House and the Freemasons, which my kid took to college with him. He's like, I don't have a lot of time to read, but when I do, I'm enjoying reading it.
So mind you, he's a single boy, young man, who is reading my book rather than going out and spending time with girls in college or boys. No disrespect.
Well, he's reading it like at night when he's getting ready to go to sleep and stuff.
Oh, I see.
So,
well, it's cheaper, by the way,
his
than melatonin. I'll tell you that.
Brother Ruley, he rocks him to sleep at night. No, he said he's very much enjoying it because I told him I was going to see you today. Also, Ivory Key, so check out mastercraftsmancollege.org. Please do check that out. And make sure you do check out our Lost Media Archive. For $2 a month, you can help support our effort to preserve Masonic media. So thank you guys very much. Please subscribe to the channel. It's very important. Get your friends to subscribe. Give us that thumbs up.
Just getting calls now.
You're getting calls now.
Just getting calls now.
And we will see you very soon. Hopefully it won't be at the end of the year, but Chris and I have some stuff to talk about, and we'll see you again soon. So thank you guys for watching. Brothers, have a great day, and never forget September 11th, 2001. Thank you guys. See you soon.